Like I said in episode 15, recording different sound sources to separate channels or tracks allows for individual signal processing and mixing later on. In this episode, I'll show you how to set up the MixPre to record music with more than 2 microphones using the GRN Multi preset. This can be done on a MixPre3, a MixPre6 or a MixPre10. Of course, the more inputs you have available, the more audio signals can be recorded at one time. But before you start, it's important to make a plan. Work out how many instruments and singers there are, and decide on how many microphones will be needed for the recording. In this example, I have 2 singers, an acoustic guitar, and a drum, so I'll use 4 microphones. To learn how to best position the microphones for multi-track recording, check out this other video. To begin, go through the pre-record checklist as usual, but this time plug in 4 microphones and select the GRN Multi preset. On the home screen, touch the level meter until you can see the meter display for all 6 inputs. When recording with the multi-track preset, it's very important that we set the level of each input by looking at the meter for that input, not the left and right meter. Ask each singer and musician to play one at a time to set the level of each input, so it averages around -20 dB. Start with input 1 and set the level while watching the level meter for input 1. Then move on to input 2 and set the level while watching the level meter for input 2. Continue until all input levels have been set. It can also be a good idea to get the band to play through a song together to double check the levels before you record, as the band may play louder when playing all together. During this time, if any of the inputs are triggering the limiter or clipping, they will need to be turned down. This will be shown on the level meter on the home screen or on the individual level control knobs as they light up orange or red. Normally the left-right level meter will read a bit higher than the meters for the individual inputs. This is because the energy from each signal is combined when sent to the left-right output. So don't be concerned if the left-right level seems a bit too high or is triggering the limiter. When using the multi-track preset, we want to set our levels based on the meter for the individual inputs, not on the left-right meter. It's also important not to set the record levels based on what you want to hear. For example, you may want the backing singers to be quieter than the lead singer in the final mix. At this stage, all the levels should be set to -20 dB, as the final mix can be adjusted later on. As a default, all inputs will be panned to the center and heard equally through both ears. To assist with monitoring, it can be a good idea to pan each input to a different space in the stereo field. To do this, press the input level control knob to access the input settings. Touch Pan so that it lights up green, and make adjustments using the rotary encoder on the right-hand side of the machine, or the arrows at the top of the touchscreen. Panning at this stage is for monitoring purposes only. The final pan positions and mix levels can be adjusted later. Once everything is set up, ready to record, press the record button to start recording. Once recording, you shouldn't need to fiddle with the individual levels too much. It's best to leave them alone for the duration of the song. However, if the limiter is being triggered often, or the signal is clipping for a particular input, it will need to be turned down. Listen carefully through your headphones while recording. When the song is finished, wait until all instruments are completely silent before pressing the stop button. It can even be a good idea to wait a few seconds after everything is silent, just to make sure you don't cut the tail off any notes that are still sounding. The song will be saved as a polywave file. That means that the MixPre will show one file which includes all of the audio signals which have just been recorded. But I'll talk more about this in another video. You can listen back to a stereo mix of the recording on the MixPre by pressing the play button, or selecting the file from the files list.